You got to, whoa, we got it going. Hey, how y'all doing? Listen to little Linda Ronstadt. Yeah, love that gal. She's just far out all the way around. So how are y'all? It's Thursday. Good to see you. And I really didn't expect it to go live that quick. Sometimes it really works, you know. It's fabulous. But hey, the vibes are always good here, and the music is always especially fine. So, hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Man, I can't even see the chat room's going by so quick. So, favor everybody. Peace be unto you. Nothing missing, nothing broken. So good to have all of you here. What a community. What a group. Big Al, man, you gave me a laugh, dude. I had to change the slide. That was just funny. And, I appreciate your talents, brother, and all of y'all's talents and your giftings. I like how our resident alchemist, Jules, puts it. So, hey, Twisted Isby, how you doing? David Castle, Bernadette 7P, Ken Cook, good to see you, buddy. Nina the Mystic, how are you? Michelle D, hello. So many good people. David Barry, of course, Big Al. Zen, good to see you. Man, I'll tell you, I love it. And good to see you as well. And Sherry, haven't seen you in a little bit. Good to see you back, hon. Far out. Man, the energy is just so cool. Hey, Cheryl. Happy birthday to everyone that's having one another time around the rock. Hey, listen, that's pretty cool. May this one be exceptionally fine, as they would say. Elaine, good to see you. Lost in Space, Source Frequency, hello. Cell, Chaos, I love it. Sherry, good to see you. Blanca, how you doing, my dear? Bree, good to see you, hon. Faith, hello. Kaylee, just turned 33. Wow, great number, powerful number. Well, Kaylee, man, go out and kick ass, man. That's all I got to say. Just do it and have fun at it. That's the whole point. Tonight, artistfirst.com, Steiger Perspective, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. here in the beautiful mountains of the Rockies. Tune in. Going to be good. Going to be talking about chaos. It seems that our species is being heavily affected, influenced, altered, changed, bombarded with chaos. Let's stop and think about something real quick here. Think about this. So I do this sometimes. I was meditating. By the way, anyone want to take the card? I'll look in. Currently, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. Okay. So if you start backing the numbers back, and this is according to those that crunch numbers, let's say you go back to the time of the Great Deluge. We know the earth was, in fact, inundated with water. Yellow circle. Chloe, you got it. Boom, baby. There you go. Way to go. No guessing. You can actually see it. I meditate on these and it goes out. Anyway, so think about this. Now, if you believe in reincarnation, that would imply that every life comes back and incarnates into another life. Here's the problem. There wouldn't be enough souls, spirits, consciousnesses to fill 7.5 billion bodies. The FBI, in one of their papers, and it's in the archives. I mean, when you got nearly 1,400 videos in the archives, you have to do a little digging. But they said, as far as true human beings are concerned, there's probably less than 4 million on the planet. Okay. Now, if there's not enough souls to have been incarnated to be 7.5 billion, then who are these people? There is a great website. I want to pull everyone in so you can really see where I'm going with this. The Veil of Reality.com. This is an older article in their archives from 2011. Now, this is called Organic Portals, the Soulless Humans. Let's read a little bit. 3 semial quotes to set the stage. A considerable percentage of people we meet on the street are people who are empty inside. That is, they are actually already dead. It is fortunate for us that we do not see and do not know it. If we knew what a number of people are actually dead and what a number of these dead people govern our lives, we should go mad with horror. If you've got the old radar antennas up, it should be buzzing. That was G.I. Gurdjieff. Another one. There are some human beings who are like vampires. What are they and why are they like that? You know, got a lot of emails yesterday on the comparison to communion to vampirism. Just saying. They are incarnations. They are not human. There is not only a human form or appearance. They are incarnations of beings from the world that is just next to the physical. Beings who live on the plane which we call the vital plane, the vital world. It is a world of all the desires and impulses and passions of movements of violence and greed and cunning and every kind of ignorance. But all the dynamisms too are there, all the life energies and all the powers. The beings of this world have by their nature a strange grip over the material world and can exercise upon it in a sinister influence. Some of them are formed out of the remains of the human being that persisted after death in the vital atmosphere near to the earth plane. His desires and hungers still float there and remain in form even after the dissolution of the body. Often they are moved to go on manifesting and satisfying themselves, and the birth of these creatures of the vital world is the consequence. But these are mere minor beings, and if they can be troublesome, it is yet not impossible to deal with them. There are others far more dangerous who have never been in human form. Never were they born into a human body upon earth. For most often they refuse to accept this way of birth because it is slavery to matter. And they prefer to remain in their own world, powerful and mischievous, and to control earthly beings from there. For if they do not want to be born on earth, they do not want to be in contact with the physical nature, but without being buoyed by it. Their method is to try first to cast their influence upon a man. Then they enter slowly into his atmosphere. and in the end may get complete possession of him, driving out entirely the real human soul and personality. These creatures, when in possession of an earthly body, may have the human appearance, but they have not a human nature. Their habits is to draw upon the life force of human beings. They attack and capture vital power wherever they can and feed upon it. If they come into your atmosphere, you suddenly feel depressed and exhausted. If you are near them for some time, you will fall sick. If you live with one of them, it may kill you. But how is one to get such creatures out of one's environment when they are once there? The vital power incarnated in these beings is of a very material kind, and it is effective only within a short distance. Ordinarily, if you do not live in the same house, or if you are not in the same company with them, you do not come within their influence. But if you open some channel of connection or communication, through letters, for example, then you make possible an interchange of forces and are liable to be influenced by them even from a far distance. And I want to stop right here because this is a very important point. Many of you who are still in the corporate world or whatever out there dealing with the public day in and day out, and you have a company structure, we all have met these. We have to begin to accept the reality. Human is not what all human is or is defined to be. There is something much more hellish here. It walks among us. They're in power. And they're in all phases of societal life. From your pastor to the bank teller to your boss. You go to conventions when that was conventional. I literally could be walking in a crowd of 10,000 people and you can feel them. This is a clue for many of you who are oppressed. And remember, there's three forms to possession. There is the feeling of being oppressed, the feeling of being depressed, and then being possessed. It's not what they have taught us, and we all know this. The wisest way with these beings is to cut off all connection and have nothing to do with them, unless indeed you have great occult knowledge and power and have learned how to cover and protect yourself. Dun, 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 dun. We talk about that all the time, folks. That's why your magic circle is so freaking important. You've got, Trina and I talk about this often as well. You have got to see that spear. You have to build it out. And folks, sometimes it only starts out like here. And then when you can get it to cover here and then to begin to expand out. It's true. But even then, it is always a dangerous thing to move about with them. To hope to transform them, as some people do, is a vain illusion. I'm going to be talking tonight on the Steiger Perspective about how we are under this spell. We live in a reality of illusion and delusion. We are the master deceivers. We deceive ourselves first so completely that we believe it. And then we go out and deceive others. And we meet other deceptions. It's freaking weird out there, folks. That's all I got to tell you. um, they have no intention of allowing any transformation, and all effort in that direction is useless. These beings, when in human body, are not often conscious of what they really are. Sometimes they have a vague feeling that they are not quite human in an ordinary way. But still, there are cases where they are conscious and very conscious. Not only do they know what they're doing, they do not belong to humanity, but they know what they are, act in that knowledge, and deliberately pursue their ends. The beings of the vital world are powerful by their very nature. When to their power they add knowledge, they become doubly dangerous. That's the big fear that they have about us right now. Folks, we're being watched. The energy that this group puts out, yeah, they're watching. And we got them on the run, baby. That's all I got to tell you. There is nothing to be done with these creatures. You should avoid having any dealings with them unless you have the power to crush and destroy them. If you are forced into contact with them, beware of the spell they can cast. And may I add to the author's writings here, do. There are politicians right now that I will point to you. I can't say it on YouTube. They'll censor. I'll do a show on it in Artists First. Yeah. I did a video on the fact, folks, the chamber. Isn't it odd they call the House of Representatives the chamber? The sectorum is a temple. Yeah. Mm-hmm. These vital beings, when they manifest on the physical plane, have always a great hypnotic power. For the center of their consciousness is in the vital world and not in the material, and they are not veiled or dwarfed by the material consciousness as human beings are. Suri Aurobindo, the hidden forces of life, the integral yoga. Yeah, we're going to get into this. This is all part of the wizard's training, folks. What we're learning today, some may know, many have never heard. We're in a battle here. And it is true, the axiom that they say, it is a battle for your mind. Joyce Myers, I was with her when she first started. Powerful witch. Now, she doesn't see herself as that. She sees herself as an agent of God. Well, so is a witch. But the fact is, she had a book. And, listen, if you extract all the crap out of it, the theological stuff, is really quite spot on. The battlefield of the mind. It's where it's at. Rudolf Steiner, 1923. Dr. Rudolf Steiner, that little girl, LK, in the first grade must have something really very wrong inside. There is not much we can do. Such cases are increasing in which children are born with a human form. Now, this is 1923, nearly 100 years ago, but are really not human beings in relation to their highest. Intelligence, I would assume. Instead, they are fueled with beings that do not belong to the human class. Quite a number of people have been born since the 90s without an eye. That is, they are not reincarnated, but are humans, forms filled with a sort of natural demon. There are quite a large number of older people going around who are actually not human beings, but are only natural. They are human beings only in regard to their form. We cannot, however, create a school for demons. Well, Rudolph, I hate to tell you this, sir. They already have them. Probably his worst nightmare. A teacher, how is that possible? Dr. Rudolf Steiner, cosmic error is certainly not impossible. The relationships of individuals coming into earthly existence have long been determined. There are also generations in which individuals have no desire to come into earthly existence and be connected with physicality, or immediately leave at the very beginning. How many people have you met? I know a couple particularly. When you were dating, I knew one particular individual did not want to be touched. Obviously, intimacy was a real issue with her, but she could not stand to be touched by people, caring people, it seemed to be. Anyway, very weird. In such cases, other beings are not quite suited step in. This is something that is now quite common, that human beings go around without an eye. They are actually not human beings, but have only a human form. They are beings like nature spirits, which we do not recognize as such because they go around in a human form. They are also quite different from human beings in regard to everything spiritual. The riddle of life is not so simple. When such beings die, it returns to nature from which it came. The corpse decays, but there is no real, get this, dissolution of the etheric body, and the natural being returns to nature. It is also possible that something like an autonomon could occur. The entire human organism exists, and it might be possible to automate the brain and develop a kind of pseudo-mortality. I do not like to talk about such things since we have often been attacked even without them. Imagine what people would say if they heard that we say that there are people who are not human beings. This answers a lot of questions for many of you. Nevertheless, these are facts. Our culture would not be in such a decline if people felt more strongly that a number of people are going around who, because they are completely ruthless, have become something that is not human, but instead are demons in human form. This is from his book, The Faculty Meetings, with Rudolf Steiner, Volume 2, July 1923. I want to stop here a minute because we'll continue to go on, because I think that we'll probably end up staying on this because I got a real sense that this is really resonating with some people. This may be your first time of ever hearing this, which is cool. This is what we're here about. We're here about knowledge. And even the knowledge that we may have known in the past, we're never that far advanced to review. Let's go on. Now, remember, this was written in 2011, before the shifts. Isn't this making sense? I've been telling you for nearly 2 years. We're not all the same on the inside. Can't be. It's impossible. Which means that the ethereal is something we still have no grasp upon. The author writes, these are interesting times. On one hand, there are changes happening on a global scale that can't really be ignored much longer. On the other hand, the majority of the population seem to live their lives as if everything is just fine, as it always is and always will be, locked into a tunnel vision of personal and material interest. Folks, we've got generations now. That's all they know is materialism. They do not know compassion. They do not know emotion. All they know is materialism. It's what thrives them. That's why you have people taking selfies all the time, dying because they're taking their own selfies. That's why you have people who take pictures of their food. There is so many weird things. If you just sat back and watched pre-pandemic, I noticed this when I used to be a very heavy, frequent flyer. I could pick them out, and I began to see a disturbing trend. It's like I was living on the Borg ship. Yeah. As long as we keep lying to ourselves, and this is what my show on tonight is about, because that's what humans do. This is the spell we are under, and only wizards and witches that have the knowledge can break it. I did a whole series called Breaking the God Spell. Go back and look at it. As long as we keep lying to ourselves based on conditioning, wishful thinking, suppression or denial, which is not a river in Egypt, and believe the lies out there, mistaking them for truth, nothing will change. This goes also beyond having a positive attitude, where hope can be merely a trap and a lie to the self. Believing in lies that are positive in appearance, regardless of how well-meaning the intent or good-hearted the person, is actually being negative and blocks one's awareness and spiritual evolution. Being positive can mean acknowledging something negative because it is the truth, seeing it for what it is. If you believe a lie, even if it seems positive and makes you feel good, you give away your free will, and that has spiritual implications. In these times of transition, it becomes imperative to seek truth and strive towards objectivity, so we don't take the wrong turn into entropy. Wow. Was not anticipating this, but there is some people are really, yeah. Again, the website, theveilofreality.com. I'll put the link in it in the description box. With the approach of the error of the Holy Spirit. Now I want to stop here because let me finish it and then we'll get into this. With the approach of the error of the Holy Spirit, everything must be gradually brought to the light of day. Not only the secrets of the laboratory, but the deepest meaning of esotericism. The same must happen with illusions, errors, and lies, which must also be revealed so that they can later be rectified. We are truly in a time, I contend, the world is under a spell, and very, very few have immune themselves to the spell. But we know something's happening. The veils are coming down, and it's amazing how deep it goes, because even with the veils coming down, people do not want to accept it. Look at what's happening in the world today, folks. This is more magic. This is of a higher magic than any human who is truly a human can fathom. This may be answered why there are certain personalities that come through that seem to have the most unique inert abilities. They seem to know the future in a way that they manipulate it in such a way. Think about The Simpsons. You go back and you look in the Simpson episodes, you begin to see a pattern. It was much more predictive 20 years ago than it is today. But yeah, this is part of that. The world is suffering from a lack of harmony, which gets deeper on every plane. And this is serious danger to the mortal and spiritual recovery of humanity. See, I think that this is what's at play right now. There is a wager on the table that we don't even know what the table is, but I believe the wager is our very essence as a spiritual species. Powerful forces are at play here. It also involves a serious risk of failure in the last stage of this time of transition that we are now entering. If this risk is not overcome, the deluge of fire awaits us. We will have to make an immense effort to ward off this fate, and we have very little time in which to do it. Man has only himself to blame for the greatness of the effort needed. This is a result of his obstinate refusal to heed the warnings that have been addressed to him time and again by the divine voice, just as he continues today to blind himself to the fact that the deluge of fire is being made ready. That's the Gnosis 2, Boris, I think that's Morifeth. Now, this whole article is about the soulless human being. And I think if we begin to approach this from a collective point, I don't know, it may bring the war faster. I don't know. They have been walking among us for tens of thousands of years. They have fashioned our governments, our laws, our religions. Every one of us have been affected by them. We were chipped in a metaphorical sense. Those of us who, as with Neo, who have disconnected from that consciousness, are now the viruses. And the Mr. Smiths are everywhere. Do you think that the United States government is an inert thing? Has it ever entered your thinking that it's alive? That we are the slaves? We are the avatars that move it, that feed it, that grow it, that are slaves to it? I know this. Each and every one of us are a slave to the cell phone. Many of us have broken it. But the vast majority, I dare say that this whole quarantine period was, for some of us, an enlightenment. For others, it was an assimilation. big time. Do you think other governments of the world are merely innate things? Changes your thinking when you see them as being alive. Corporations. Corporations are, in fact, alive. We don't view life as it really is. This is a wonderland here. And when you suppress a species for 1,000 years, 2,000 years, there's a void that's created. Nature abhors a vacuum. This begins to answer a lot of things with us. This is why the teaching of magic is so important now, because magic is what counters these soulless humans. Folks, they're out there. Some of us have them in our homes. I could go further, but that gets a little too depressing. Deep stuff, isn't it? Many people are not aware of the path this world is currently going towards. Sure, there are some self-proclaimed aware and conscious folks out there who believe that all of this is just going as it has to go, and humanity will wake up eventually in 2012 or the golden age. Remember, we're able with the privilege now to look back at our consciousness level in 2011. Let's not take this in the vein of seeing it in 2020. Let's go back in time. So we're going to go back now. So 2012 was a big deal, wasn't it? It all was. It was for me. The whole world was abuzz about it. The Mayan calendar, the end of the long count. Yeah. Or the golden age where everyone is enlightened without having to do anything at all to reach that state. Just be and show love is the mantra these days. Hasn't changed, has it? Without really understanding what is being and what is love. What does love mean to begin with? Or so it seems. However, I don't want to get this into the traps of the pseudo-spirituality promoted through the New Age religion these days. Past writings and videos have examined that. My goal is also not to try to convince anyone of anything, because no one can make another one change. This is just about questioning some fundamental beliefs and giving food for thought. Some sources that talk about a shift or transformation occurring in our age also mention a splitting of humanity, and that not everyone is going to wake up. The main reason for this can be found in a very interesting issue this planet faces, and which has been written about in various esoteric teachings as well as transmitted through certain channeled material. It relates to two different races of humanities coexisting on Earth, alike from the outside, but unlike on the inside. The common spiritual lofty idea that runs through the world these days is we're all one. And just by recognizing that we should unite under world peace and harmony, let's all give everyone a big hug. All what the world leaders need to do is recognize the same, right? Hence, many people send love and light to the rulers and leaders, so they may see the truth as well, because they are so misguided and just need love and compassion. Well, Yes, everything is one from a higher perspective. As a matter of fact, it is pretty obvious that all is one, is it not? The devil, however, is always in the details. Laura Knight Jeddix gives a good insight into the misplacement of higher truths in her book, The Secret History of the World. Many modern day teachers and gurus tell us since there is only one being which permeates all things, all we have to do is see everything as only light. And that will transmute the darkness, and we will create our own reality of light. Come on, folks, we're hearing that same stuff today. How much light transformation has taken place, right? Such a statement ignores the fact that the statement, God is one, describes a reality that is a higher level from which our own mixed beings manifest. The man who assumes that he can become like God at this level just by thinking it ignores the facts of being versus non-being, which outrays from God is one at a level of existence that is clearly several levels above our own. Evil is real on its own level, and the task of man is to navigate the cosmic maze without being defiled by the evil therein. This is the root of free will. Man faces a real predicament as real as himself. He is forced to choose, to utilize his knowledge by applying it between the straight path, which leads to being, capital B, and the crooked paths, which lead to non-beings. Human beings are required to discern between good and evil, consciousness, energy directors, at every stage of their existence in this reality. Because in fact, they must understand that God is consciousness and God is matter. God is good, God is evil. The creation assumes all the different properties of the many names of God. The cosmos is full of life, giving and slaying, forgiveness and vengeance, exaltation and abasement, guidance and deception. To attempt to assume God's point of view and mix everything at this level results only in staying at this level. Therefore, human beings must always separate God's point of view from their own point of view and the fact that all creations assume the divine names and traits. Yes, we're all one, but we're not all the same in this third density experience here on planet Earth. Sure, Gandhi and Hitler are one, but one of them doesn't seem to have any consciousness. The biggest illusion and projection regular folks seem to have is the assumption that the people in positions of power think and feel just like we all do. And if they don't, it's assumed that they are just misguided and lack love in their lives. However, what if there exists a type of human who has no connection to the higher centers of the universal love, awareness at all by birth? She is not even genetically wired this way. Not being able to access it in this lifetime around, but he and she can emulate and fake these higher characteristics quite well, and even distract you from evolving by zapping your energy and feeding off of it. They can tell you exactly what you want to hear, appear compassionate, empathetic, and understanding without meaning or feeling it one bit. And what if this type of human makes up half of the world's population? She might even be a family member, a co-worker, a neighbor, a husband, a wife, a boss, or even a close lover, a friend, husband, or wife. Certainly not a pleasant thought. and certainly a blow to the popular New Age paradigm of we're all one and humanity is becoming enlightened just by focusing on love and light and so-called positive thinking. When exploring these ideas more closely with an objective, open, and critical mind, it gives huge clues to the state of the world. Let's look at some of these sources and let's talk about two different races of humanity. One of it is Boris Moreff's Gnosis trilogy. And I'm going to cut off on here because I want to kind of get back into seeing everyone in the chat room real quick, because this is deep stuff, folks. I mean, there I am. This is really, this is a change as we have been taught thus far in the mystery schools. This is a true change of a paradigm here. This changes everything. I'll tell you what I think is that this is part of the awakening. Because again, I approached this. I was the CEO of a company back in the late 90s, and my personal secretary, Heidi, still remember her, love her even still today. She's just a fantastic spirit. But anyway, we got into a deep discussion one day in the office and about reincarnation. And I didn't believe it then and still got a problem even today into it. But she did. And she looked at me and she says, well, explain to me why you have a problem with it. And it's because, you know, I ran a software company. We were one of the first B2B internet companies. But I had read an article by a yogi about this very thing, that there's too many people here. If reincarnation started with just one or two, then where did the souls come from? That's the whole problem if you walk it backwards. And oh, there's a myriad of excuses and, you know, reasons why. Well, thank you, Richard. But the fact is, reincarnation is a false belief, because it's like the Big Bang. So what? We just got souls somewhere along the way. They just got dumped in, you know, and it was under the radar. Really? I don't think so. You know, so who's reincarnating here? Who's feeling this? I've told you many, and I speak favor over all law enforcement officers. All of you men and women out in the front line, we speak favor over you, favor and protection. But I've told you, many of them have written me, and they have seen it. They pull over people, and one particular officer wrote, and he said, Wayne, there's nothing in there. She said, they're not like us. And the scary thing is that there's more and more of them. I contend, ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing taking place today. Why is there no compassion coming from our elected leaders? Why is there no leadership? They were told to stand down. They're not human. Not in the term of what we are. And I'm beginning to think that there may be fewer of a spiritual nature like ourselves than what we think. We very well may be in a very small minority. I'm just reading some of the comments. Love the shirt. Yeah, never trust an atom, you know. They screw it with everything. But think about this. This is some of the deepest, profoundest thinking that I think a human Whatever human may be. Why some don't want this kind of teaching? They don't want to be a part of this? You know why now. You know that this is never going to be a channel of millions of subscribers. It will never be allowed to. This is too real. Because if the masses start waking up from this, you talk about a revolution. Overnight, things change, and they change very drastically. But this now brings up another equation in where we get into the school of wizardry, magic. Yeah, I told you yesterday, I do not invoke demons or angels, demigods, goddesses, or gods. One of the reasons why is that I have no connection. I don't think like they do. I really don't understand what I've read of them, and many of it comes from the older books. I don't understand them. I don't understand how a spiritual energy force can become stagnant. The devil's always the devil. An angel's always the angel. Good, bad. To me, that's regressivism. Regressivism. There's no progression going on here. The state of what I see most religions, most esoteric thinking, all philosophy is stagnant. It fails to take into account that there is no progression. We always refer to the old masters. We always go back to Aristotle, Socrates, Socrates. We want to go back to what they think. Why? If there was such a progression taking place, then it got stymied. I would dare say the late Alan Watts would probably agree with me. And when you begin to take on the fact that you begin to think that not all the bodies walking out there are filled with what you're filled with, that changes things. It makes one become, I think, should become even more desirous of being able to find out what your power is, how you can in fact thrive in such what can only be described as a cosmic labyrinth. And we're in it. And all of us knows we've all taken the dead ends. We were on the path, but all of us have gotten distracted. And some of those dead ends were so complicated that it's been almost virtually impossible to get back onto the path. But we're getting there. Well, Lisa, that's a pretty good comment. I like that. Really good. Yep, the maze of crazy. Trina, I love you, dear. The maze of the crazies, man. I mean, it is. But seriously, and Trina, I think we ought to talk about this on next Tuesday's show. This is really interesting when you think about it, folks. Why is it that certain communities build and they have a different energy than another community over here? You may have those who visit between, but we seem to settle into a specific energy that's being emitted. And you think about this. I mean, this is just the thing I've told you all the time about exorcism. My question is that when did the demon convert? I mean, if a demon is as old as Earth is itself, I mean, who knows? We never got into how old a demon is, but when did it convert to Christianity? Are you saying that if a demon is a Christian demon possesses a Muslim, that the Muslim cleric isn't going to be able to exorcise the Christian demon out because the Christian demon doesn't recognize Allah? What if you have a Jewish demon who rejects all of them? Or what if you have a Hindu demon who says all three of you are nuts. I mean, come on, folks, let's stop and think about this. Something ain't right. It's very plain something isn't right. But we've bought this garbage. We are so delusional in our beliefs because all of these beliefs were crafted by non-human essences. Really does make you believe in ET, doesn't it? Okay. So that's we didn't even get to the book. We'll get there tomorrow. We'll get into the building of an altar because an altar is really important. Again, if you're really good in craftsmanship in woodworking, send me an email. I have an idea for a altar that would be very portable, and so could be a great idea. Loretta, that is in the book of Acts. And yes, the story is his name was Saul, excuse me, Peter, that came in and wanted to exorcise the demon. And the demon said, because they said, in the name of Paul, in the name of his God, is how the story goes. And the demon answered back, Paul I know, Jesus I know, but who the hell are you? And the story goes that there were 10 brothers that were trying to do this, and the demon kicked their ass and stripped them naked. And anyway, that's how the story goes. So kind of weird, isn't it? But how could it be in the name of Jesus when J didn't exist 2,000 years ago and is not of the Hebraic tongue? And how come did it become Jesus when it is a known fact that historians never change the name of a deity? Tutankhamun, Ezekiel, King of Hezekiah. Why didn't we change their names? Might be a clue in all that. All right, folks, this has been fun. I hope you've enjoyed this. Listen, we've got to focus. Trina, let's talk about this. I mean, the whole aspect that we're actually in, it's like the movie with Rowdy Piper in it, They Live. If we put on the sunglasses, OMG, you'd have to say, what the and you know the word is going on here. Because now you're seeing these walking skeletons, the walking dead. You get to see what's inside them, not the outside. You see the inside. Could you imagine if a pair of glasses like that existed? Holy crap, the guy was right. We would go freaking insane. We would go mad. I don't think we could handle it. Maybe a few of us could, because to me, I've already had that encounter where they already told me that I was ugly. I told them they were really ugly. And they said, you ought to see yourself from our point of view. Now I'm beginning to think, well, just what the hell was he talking about? You know, what does my spirit look like to them? What does your spirit look like to them? Maybe that's why you're so easily targeted. Maybe you need to get that spear around you. All right. That's all we got to do. All right. It's been fun. And I hope everyone has had it. See, I know, Trina, I know you can see them sometimes. They are empty shells. I see them. I can really sense them. That there's an emptiness. There's a coldness. You know. Anyway, but yeah. Viola, good to see you, my dear. Gary, how are you? All right, folks. I'm out of here. Tune in tonight, if you will. Going to get into more of this delusion. Listen, that's just reality. Homo sapiens are the most deceived species out there. And most of it, we're so good at it. Whoever these a-holes are, they don't have to even hardly do anything. Now, for the big things, and they're doing big things right now, but for the most part, we delude ourselves. And we like it. It's like, I want some more of it. All right, folks. I do appreciate all of you. Much love to you. Favor be upon all of us. And thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you tomorrow. We'll pick up on the altar. And then I don't know, maybe if anyone would like to come on tomorrow and talk about this a little bit more in depth, send me an email. This is a subject that I think affects all approaches to magic. I mean, think about spells now. Your time, many times when you're catching a spell, is to help someone. Now we got to think about what that someone is. All right. Yeah, hit the like button. I don't say it all the time, but yeah, hit the like button. You know, I can show you where this channel, we have on an average, we have I think it's 97.3.4% positive rating. So that's a pretty good thing. So it shows that we're doing something right. All right, folks. Thank you all. See you later. Have a great day. Whether it's winter or summer, get out and enjoy it. And we'll talk tomorrow. All right, folks. Bye-bye.